Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam
wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to show my respect to our lecturer, Ma'am Yeti Zainul, as the instructor of this course, and also to all of my friends here today. Welcome to our presentation. My name is Meli Maharani. Today, I will act as the moderator and the first speaker. In this session, we are going to discuss communication skills and cross-cultural understanding. Before we come to the material, let me introduce the member of Group 6. It is me, Mili Maharani, then my friend is Ikhwan Al-Fajri, Tasha Marzalifa, Indah Fitrani Kurniawan, and Marsha Alfizar. So without further delay, let me start the first presentation. Okay. Now for the first, let's review of cross-cultural understanding. Cross-cultural understanding is a major factor in negotiations between two cultures. It is very important because it becomes a link for cultural differences to achieve the same misunderstanding. In previous material, we have learned about the learning cycle of cross-cultural understanding. The learning cycle of cross-cultural understanding has 4 steps. Step 1, participation. We participate in a new culture. Step 2, description. We describe what we see and experience without judgment and just focusing on facts. Step 3, analysis. Then we analyze the situation to understand why people behave in certain ways, considering cultural values and norms. And the last step is response. Finally, we decide how to respond appropriately, showing respect and adapting our behavior to communicate better across culture.
Yang ubat tuh,
And
mana
the
ubat?
next material, okay.
Ngasih answer aku.
Now,
Sorry guys, interrupt. Najma, your mic.
Sorry for interruption. Najma Afdal Tauladani, please turn off your mic, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And now let's see this example first. I will give you 5 minutes to read this example. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. From the example, we can analyze based on the learning cycle. Step 1, experience. From the dialogue between David and Andy, we know Andy and David have different perspectives about time. Step 2, description. We can think about why David feels upset and why Andy's being late is not a big problem. This shows that people from different cultures may have different values about times. And the next step is step 3. Analysis. Why is David upset with Andy? We use 3 maybes for this. The first maybe is, maybe for Americans, time is money. Maybe number 2, maybe being late is seen as disrespectful or unprofessional in America. And the last maybe is, maybe David doesn't like Andy's flexibility. And in Andy's perspective, why does Andy think being late is okay? The first maybe is, maybe for Indonesians, the habit of being late is common. Or we usually call this budaya ngaret. And second maybe is, maybe Indonesians are flexible with time. And the last maybe Andy also thought David would be late too. And the next material would be given by Fajri.
So I will explain about skill. General skill for cross-cultural understanding. 1. Be flexible. Communication in English is different from communication in your native language. Example, Indonesian. Being flexible allows you to learn different ways of communicating, including in language, gesture, and concept. Number 2, observe. The best way to learn is to observe English speakers communicating in real life or in movies. Analyze what they are doing and practice by copying what they are doing. Number 3, don't judge too quickly people of other culture to do things in different way. Accept that. Keep an open mind, don't make assumption. Number 4, don't stereotype. A stereotype is an oversimplified idea applied to everyone that share a characteristic. Avoid using stereotype. If you hear one, stop and reflect on it. Specific skills responding to misunderstanding. Number 1, ignore. Skill choosing to ignore a gesture or vocabulary item that you don't understand or that is offensive to you. Number 2, repeat. Skill checking the meaning of what was said by repeating the confusing word or asking the other person to repeat it. The use of question intonation for this. Number 3, clarify. Skill restating the confusing word or sentence again using different words to check the meaning. Usage, you are trying to confirm the intended meaning. Number 4, explain. Skill, explaining what you are misunderstanding and why. Use this to address vocabulary, gesture, and cultural differences. Thank you, moderator.
Okay, I will explain about practicing your skills. Communication. When we communicate with people from different cultures, sometimes misunderstanding happen. They can come from vocabulary, grammar, general knowledge, cultural values, gestures. Next, please. Next, please. We need to practice different ways to respond. When you don't understand something in conversation, you can choose to ignore, repeat, clarify, or explain. Sometimes, if the misunderstanding is not important, we can just continue the conversation without asking. The second is repeat. By repeating the word or phrase, we check if we heard it correctly or not. The third and probably the most useful is clarify. We can polite ask questions such as, sorry, what do you mean? Finally, explain. Here, we try to give our own explanation to confirm understanding. For example, do you mean no one is sitting here? These four skills help us choose the best response in different situations. Next. Here, little bit example. In a doctor waiting room, someone asked, is this seat Taken. If we don't understand the idiom, we can clarify. Do you mean is someone sitting here? And another example, if we discussing about sports, we can also clarify. Sorry, I don't know this game. Can you explain? So the tips are ignore if the point is small, repeat if you want to check words, clarify if you need explanation, and explain if you want to confirm meaning. By practicing the strategies, we can become more confident, avoid misunderstanding, and improve our cross-cultural communication. Thank you. Back to moderator.
Okay, thank you for Fajri and Tasha. Next material we move to the next material will be presented by Marcia.
Thanks to moderator. So I will presentations about Grace conversations maxims. These three texts discuss the unwritten rules that guide how we communicate everyday conversations. Now, as Grace conversations maxims, the main point of this text is in conversation we automatically assume that our interlocutor provides information that is clear, honest, relevant, and sufficient. If an answer seems irrelevant, there is usually some missing information that we can infer. One, basic rules. This text introduces four main rules, maxims, maxim of quantity. Speak appropriately, don't provide less information that needed, but also don't be overly wordy. Example, if asked how are you, answering fine is enough. There's no need to tell the full story of your day from waking up. Next, maxim of manner. Convey information clearly and orderly. Avoid ambiguous words and arrange sentence logically. Example, when telling a story, narrate it from beginning to end, not disorganized order. Maxim of relevance provide information that is relevant to the topic of conversations. Example, if asked about the weather, answer about the weather, not suddenly about politics. Maxim of quality, speak truthfully and have evidence for what you say. If you cannot be truthful or don't want to answer, is it better to polite or refuse than to lie? Example, instead of making a false accuse, say, sorry, I'm not comfortable talking about that. Next slide. To application in dialogue. This text explains how this maxim work in practice with a focus on the maxim of relevance. When someone gives an answer that seems unrelated, as a listener we automatically try to find the missing informations that make it logical. We assume our interlocutor is still following the rule of relevance. Example of dialogue analysis. Context A asks B to open the door. This answer, I'm not dressed yet. This seems irrelevant. Missing information. In some cultures, is it considered impolite to open the door for guests while wearing pajamas? So B's real meaning is I can open the door for a reasons of decency because my clothes are not appropriate. Exercise inferring missing informations. Next slide. This text is an exercise to apply the concept from text 2. The goal is to practice finding the missing information that connect a question with an answer that seems irrelevant. Here are the explanation for each number with the missing information that makes the answer relevant. A. How was your action? B. I don't think I'll have to retake that course. Missing informations. I think my grade is good enough or I pass. Only those who fail need to retake the course. Next example. A. What does supercilious means? B. There's a dictionary on the shelf. Missing information. I don't know the meaning and you can look it up yourself in that dictionary. There is a subtle suggestion to find out on your own. That's all for me. Back to moderator.
Thanks to Marcia. And the last material will be presented by Indah.
Thank you to the moderator. Okay, I will explain about hidden cultural assumptions. In communication, there are often hidden assumptions we are not aware of because they are deeply rooted in our own culture. This assumption act like a cultural lens that shapes how we see, interpret, and respond to things. If left unnoticed, they can easily lead to misunderstandings or even conflict, especially in cross-cultural interaction. Please, next. Forms of hidden cultural assumption. The first, meaning of symbols and nonverbal language. Silence. In some cultures, it means agreement. In others, it may indicate disagreement or hesitation. Eye contact. In Western cultures, it shows confidence and respect, but in some Asian cultures, it may be seen as challenging or disrespectful. The second, concept of time or time orientation. Monochronic cultures like USA and Germany value punctuality, schedules, and efficiency. Polychronic cultures like Indonesia and Latin America view time more flexibly, and being late is often tolerated. The third, hierarchy and social status. In some Asian cultures, respecting others and people of higher status is a priority. In Western cultures, relationships are more egalitarian. Students, for instance, may call their professor by first name without being disrespectful. Next, communication style, direct versus indirect. Direct cultures like USA tend to express opinions openly and clearly. Indirect cultures like Japan and Indonesian use polite language, hints, or symbolic expressions to maintain harmony. Next, individualism versus collectivism. Individualist cultures, Western society emphasize personal freedom, individual achievement, and straightforward honesty. Collectivist cultures, like Asian and Middle Eastern society, emphasize group harmony, maintaining the group's reputation and social cohesion. Possible consequence if I ignore. The first, misinterpretation of message. The second, communication breakdown or conflict. The third, negative stereotypes toward other cultures. Next. Recognizing hidden cultural assumption is essential for effective cross-cultural communication. By understanding these differences, we can, first, become more open-minded toward diversity. The second, reduce prejudices and misunderstandings. The third, build harmonious and respectful relationships across cultural backgrounds. That's all for me. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thanks, Indah. Now, next slide, please. Here's the conclusion for today's lesson. To master cross-cultural communication, a structured approach is crucial, following the learning cycle of participation, description, analysis, and responses. Success success hinges on practicing flexibility, keen
Satu lagi.
keen observation, and avoiding stereotype or quick judgment. When misunderstandings arise from different culture values or gestures, utilize the specific response skills, such as ignore, repeat, clarify, or explain. Understanding Grace maxim and recognizing hidden cultural assumption allows us to infer meaning and navigate differences, ultimately building harmonious and respectful cross-cultural relationship. That's all. That's all our presentation. We move on to the additional material. If you guys have additional material, you can raise your hand. Okay, Hilal Sadikin. Yeah.
Okay, thanks to moderator and thanks to Group 6 that has presented this material. I would like to add some material related to communication skill in responding to cross-cultural understanding. It's additional to strategies of ignore, repeat, clarify, and explain that have already been discussed. There are several more strategies we can use. The first is paraphrase, which means restating the speaker message in our own words to check understanding. Second, summaries, which involve briefly restoring the main idea of the conversation to ensure the message is clear. Third, as for example, which help us by requesting concrete example to clarify the meaning. Another useful strategy is check for confirmation. By asking short questions to verify if our interpretation is correct. We can also make use visual or non-verbal aids, such as a gesture or drawing. When language barrier occur in some case, we may use delay or defer, meaning postponing our response and returning to the discussion when more information is available. Finally, we can use restate your own message, which means replacing our own word with different expression to help the listener understand. By applying these additional strategies, cross-cultural communication can become more effective and misunderstanding can be minimized. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you send it into our WhatsApp group?
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone can have additional material? Okay, Natasha Dwi Putri, time is yours.
All right, thank you, moderator. So I will give some additional information about verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So for verbal communication includes words, intonation, speaking rate, and vocabulary choice. For example, conveying ideas in short, clear, and polite sentences. And then for non-verbal communication includes facial expressions, eye contact, body posture, hand gestures, and then a distance or proxemics. For example, smiling when greeting someone show friendliness. So inside 93% of effective communication depends on nonverbal aspects. Okay, I'm sorry, that's all for me. It's moderator.
Thank you, Kak Natasha Dwi Putri. Can you send it into our group?
All right.
Okay. Anyone? If there is no one, we move to the Q&A session. We just We will only accept 3 questions. So for the first, Putriani.
Okay, thank you to moderator. My question is, how can academic communication strategies remain effective when all parties have extremely different communication cultures, yet must reach an agreement within a limited time? That's my question. Thank you.
Sebelumnya mohon maaf kalau misalnya bertanya tolong ya kameranya dihidupin.
Okay, can please send it into our group. And the next question is Nurul Fatiha.
Thank you, moderator. My question is, in David and in this situation, their views on time are very different. What is the first step one should take when they realize there is a confusing reference? That's my question. Thank you. Back to moderator.
Okay, please send it into our group. The next questioner is Azifa.
Thank you for the moderator. So my question is, how can academic communication remain effective when Gen Z feels more comfortable expressing themselves through like emojis or short voice notes rather than formal face-to-face discussions? Thank you. That's all my question.
Okay, please write it in our group. And the last questioner is Zahwa.
Okay. My question is, when responding to a misunderstanding, you can choose to ignore, repeat, clarify, or explain. If a person uses a nonverbal gesture that you find offensive but don't understand, which of these 4 specific response skill would be the safe to use? Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Zahwa. Guys, please give us a few minutes to search the answer. Thank you. Oke guys, selama kita menunggu teman-teman yang lain cari jawaban, kepada semua participate, silakan di open cam-nya untuk mengambil absensi hari ini. Terima kasih.
PPT-nya tolong dihapus dulu.
Satu, dua, ini bagian slide 1 dulu. 1, 2, 3. Ayo, satu lagi. 1. Denny Hamzah, tolong open kamera. Baik, Bu. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, moderator.
Yes?
May I answer some questions? A question, I mean.
Oh, silakan, Bang.
Ini boleh campur ini Inggris saja atau campur Indonesia?
Senyamannya aja, Bang.
Nah, oke. Okay. I will answer Hutari Yani questions. It's about wait a minute. How can academic communication strategy to remain the effectiveness when all parties have the extremely different communication cultures yet much reach agreement with the limited time? For the in academic communication, especially when the participants come extremely different communication culture, the key is focus is clarity, neutrality, and adaptability. Jadi, strategi komunikasi itu harus mengutamakan kesamaan tujuan gitu loh daripada pembedaan gaya komunikasi. Nah, for the one, if they establish common ground that starting by clarity the shared goals. Jadi, establish common ground ini kayak semua pihak itu perlu diingatkan bahwa tujuan utama mereka itu adalah reaching the agreement for the academic purpose. Jadi bukan untuk memenangkan argumen. Terus untuk yang kedua itu use clear and simple language. Jadi hindari jargon, ya maksudku jargon itu ya yang terlalu lokal atau cultural references. Yang bahasanya itu straightforward yang akan mengurangi potensi minister interpretation. That's jadi kayak bahasanya itu yang lebih berbelit-belit gitu maksudnya. Lalu yang ketiga itu active listening on confirmation. Jadi each side should practice active listening lalu melakukan konfirmasi dengan prefasa. For the examples, uh, jadi the example is like when we do this meeting. So what moderator said is the conclusion, right? The presenter said that. So what we do understand from your point is, jadi mereka si presenter menjelaskan apa konklusinya, apa yang kita understand about the materials. The fourth is time management. Karena waktu yang terbatas itu gunakan teknik structure discussion for what we did before. For the examples, menetapkan moderator atau fasilitator yang memastikan diskusi itu tetap fokus dan tidak berlebar. For the fifth is cultural sensitivity. Under this time pressure, knowledge is culture defenses. Jadi dalam budaya gitu, silent itu sama dengan respect. Meanwhile, di budaya lain, silence itu dianggap lack of interested. Jadi kita tuh nggak menganggap apa tidak tertarik dengan budaya tersebut. Jadi recognize this will prevent misjudgment. Jadi hati-hati, mungkin saja silent itu respect dan mungkin saja silent itu menandakan kita itu nggak respect. For the last one is building strategies that instead of pushing one dominant style, gunakan aja pendekatan kolaboratif decision making kayak yang kita dengar di presenter pertama atau presenter kedua yang tadi. Jadi dengan cara ini pihak merasa dihargai walaupun cara komunikasinya itu berbeda. In short, academic community itu such situation must be structured, respectful, and goal oriented. Jadi at same time perlu adanya flexibility atau empati agar perbedaan budaya komunikasi itu tidak menjadi hambatan. But rather than strike dan enriches the discussion. Jadi for the asker, sang penanya Putriani, do you satisfied with my answer or you need more the answer?
Okay, that's enough. Thank you for your
Yeah,
answer.
thank you. Okay.
Right. I will answer the question from Azifa Salsabila. The question is, how can academic communication remain effective when Gen Z feels more comfortable expressing themselves through emojis or short voice note rather than formal face-to-face discussion? So my answer is to keep academic communication effective with Gen Z, who prefer expressing themselves through emojis or short voice note. Consider these strategies. The first one is embrace digital platform. Use platform like messaging apps, social media, or learning management system where Gen Z feels comfortable. Uh, Artinya ini menerima platform digital ini menggunakan platform seperti aplikasi pesan, media sosial, atau sistem manajemen pembelajaran yang membuat Gen Z merasa nyaman or comfortable. Uh, ini bisa termasuk menggunakan emoji dan bahasa informal untuk membuat komunikasi lebih menarik. And number two is flexibility in communication style. Be open to adapting your communication style to fit the preferences or Gen Z while maintaining clarity and professionalism where necessary. So, it's been like fleksibilitas dalam gaya komunikasi. Ini terbuka untuk menyesuaikan gaya komunikasi agar sesuai dengan preferensi Gen Z sambil menjaga kejelasan dan profesionalisme jika diperlukan. Yang terakhir yaitu encourage collaboration. Use group chats or collaborative tools where Gen Z can discuss ideas, share resources, and work together and on projects in a format they comfortable with. So it's mean like mendorong kolaborasi, ya ini menggunakan obrolan grup atau alat kolaboratif di mana Gen Z ini dapat mendiskusikan ide dan berbagai sumber daya dan bekerjasama dalam proyek dengan format yang nyaman dan bagi mereka. Jadi dengan menyesuaikan diri dengan preferensi komunikasi dengan Gen Z ini uh, dapat meningkatkan keterlibatan dan efektivitas dalam lingkungan akademis. That's all for me. Azifa Sasabila, do you get it?
Yes, thank you for your answer. I can get your point. Thank you, guys.
Okay, guys, I will answer the question by Nurul Fatihah. The question is, in David and Andy situation, their views on time are very different. What is the first step someone should take when they realize there is a confusing cultural difference? The answer is, the first step when someone realizes there is a confusing cultural difference is to practice awareness and openness. Jadi hal pertama yang perlu dilakukan adalah menyadari dulu bahwa perbedaan itu memang ada, bukan berarti salah satu pihak benar atau salahnya. In David and Andy situation, mereka punya pandangan waktu yang berbeda, mungkin lebih strict dengan schedule, sementara yang lain lebih fleksibel. Ketika sadar ada perbedaan seperti ini, langkah awalnya adalah stop judging. Lalu coba memahami bahwa perbedaan itu berasal dari budaya yang berbeda. Setelah itu, it's important to ask for clarification dengan cara yang sopan. Misalnya, can you explain how time is usually managed in your culture? Tanya dulu biar komunikasinya lebih terbuka dan tidak menyinggung pihak-pihak lainnya. So, the very first step is being aware and open-minded. Kemudian dilanjutkan dengan curiosity yang sehat, yaitu bertanya dan mencoba memahami. Dengan cara itu, cultural differences bisa jadi peluang belajar, bukan sebagai sumber konflik. Bagaimana Nurul Fatihah?
Terima kasih, penjelasannya sangat jelas.
Selanjutnya, I will answer question from Zahwa Nabila Insani. The question is, when responding to a misunderstanding, you can choose to ignore, repeat, clarify, or explain. If a person uses a nonverbal gesture that you find offensive but don't understand, which of these four specific response skills would be the safe to use? Jadi jika seseorang tuh menggunakan gestur yang menganggap menghina, tetapi kita tidak paham, respon yang teraman itu adalah clarify. Karena mengabaikan suatu atau menyelesaikan masalah itu, kita harus menjelaskan mengapa kita itu tersinggung. Itu bisa memicu argumen yang tidak perlu. Jadi sebaliknya cukup kita tanyakan dengan tenang. Maaf, apa maksud gestur tadi? Dengan begitu, kita memberikan kesempatan pada orang tersebut untuk menjelaskan, dan kita mungkin akan menyadari bahwa tidak ada niat menghina dari orang tersebut. Jadi, cara terbaik untuk menghindari kesalahpahaman itu adalah dengan clarify. That's all for me. Gimana menurut Zahwa?
Okay, I got it. Thank you for your answer.
Oke, mungkin hanya itu presentasi hari ini. Thank you for your attention and participation. I really appreciated your time today. Thank you, guys. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.